Welcome, folks. It is 6 o'clock on the west coast of Canada, so let's get started with the with our nice little Excel user group meeting for today. Super excited to be welcoming Oz for Cooking with Oz, a lesson in Excel creativity. I just want to throw out a couple of slides here before we get started. Obviously, one of the big things that we like to do is thank the sponsors that make this possible. Excel Guru, which is my company that pulls all this together, organizes speakers and hosts these events. Our training division at Skillwave. If you are interested in really good Excel and Power BI training, you definitely want to check out Skillwave and our awesome new website, which looks amazing, if we don't say so ourselves. And Microsoft for helping us out with a lot of different things, including providing the software that lets this stuff be possible. So thanks to all of them. Let me just make sure that I'm actually on the slide so I can advance it. There we go. So today it is the Thursday, May 6th edition, or Friday, May 7th, if you're in countries that are working in the future. That's and right. Australia, New Zealand, and India, I think, are all fall into that category. Actually, as well as Romania and Saudi Arabia too, I guess. Holy cow. All right, so today's meetup, we're already into the open portion here. We're on our welcome and overview, and in about 4 minutes or so, we'll be kicking it over to Oz for the feature presentation. That will run for an hour-ish, depending on how much time Oz has and how much time we actually have for other people to share their own versions of the solutions here as well, which is, I know, something that Oz is really hoping to see is what other people have built from the criteria here as well. Once again, here's the big slide with all the sponsor information on it. One sponsor I didn't actually mention on this one as well is my Monkey Tools add-in, which will help you build better Excel business intelligence models faster and audit your models in both Excel and Power BI as well. If you haven't had a chance, you should definitely check that out. I have a YouTube channel that has some recordings of some other meetups, including the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia meetup that I did with Faraz, who's actually out here hanging out today. So lots of good information around there. Next meetups that we have coming up, so that I don't forget to mention them, in a couple of weeks on May 20th, we have our Power BI track. We have Ancy Phillip coming to talk about AI and Power BI. She is with the team that actually works on the AI features. So that's going to be a pretty exciting. It's always great to have someone from Microsoft who works on these features come and present to us and tell us what's going on with them. So really looking forward to that. And our next presenter on the Excel track is we're going to be welcoming back Scott Helmers. He's going to be talking about working with Excel and Visio together to create diagrams. It's always an interesting thing to see those two programs, put together in a good way. So looking forward to that coming up. I believe both of these events are now open for RSVPs. So if you're interested, please get your name on the list so you don't miss out on when those are going to be happening. The last thing that I want to throw out is if you are interested in presenting the meetup group, you'd like to take your chance on our floor, we would love to have you. Please fill out the profile here at excelguru.ca/speak@vanpug. It's a short little survey to tell us who you are, what you do, what your topic's about. And at that point, we'll contact you and try and figure out when we can get you on. And it's always a good thing. We love having new speakers here to participate. It's always variety is always fun. Now, on that note, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fade to black here on my screen. I'm going to turn it back to or turn it over to Oz. So Oz, if you want to share your screen, what I would probably suggest, Oz, how do you want to handle the Q&A thing today? Do you want people to raise hands? Do you want me to moderate the chat for you? Do you want them to just come off mute and yell at you? What's your favorite?
If you can watch the chat, and I am open for people to just jump in.
Perfect. Well, I'll tell you what then, folks. What we'll do is if I can get everybody to mute themselves, and if you want to jump in, just use the little raise your hand icon across the top, and then we'll get you moderated in, or just use the chat window and throw your comments in there, and I'll break Oz when he takes a breath, if I can get a word in there to let him know that something's happening there. So.
Yeah.
All right. How you making out with the screen sharing there, Oz?
Okay. I'm gonna do that now.
All right.
Okay. All right. You can see?
I can see your screen. That looks fantastic.
All right.
Perfect. I'm going to mute myself and let you go.
All right. Cool. So this whole solution is built. So I am not going to take very long to show this. So please ask questions, and then if you did play with this, somebody's talking. All right, see, I'm gonna start having to give out whoopings. So anyway, all right. So please ask questions, make this interactive. All right. So the challenge, come up with an integrated solution that uses the floor function, data validation, specifically text length, emojis, and dynamic arrays. Everything has to be integrated. And like the chopped cooking show that this is based on, um, you can get penalized for just sticking stuff on, right? So you got French fries as an ingredient. Oh, I'll just fry up some French fries and stick them on a plate. No, no, that's, you got to transform it. You got to use it. All right. So the challenge that was the biggest one for me was how to properly use floor. Wow. Because you got round up, round down, round, you got truncate. And so here's what I saw as a difference. So here's my value of 17.8. All of these round, they go to 17. But what happens with floor is this negative 0.16 floor literally takes it down to -1. Everything else goes towards 0. Floor, goes the other way. Ha. So part of the challenge is coming up with a story. Why would this make sense as opposed to just doing it, fry up some French fries and stick it on a plate? Well, here's the situation we have. We had a post-apocalypse leadership training that was self-paced. Okay. And we had all of these people going through this self-paced training. And here was the target date for everybody to be done. Now, here is this person, Vale, finished 59 days after the target. And the 59.16, we take that to 59. We're not messing around here. But now, Andreas, and part of the thing is the date always comes in this form. That's part of our raw data. These columns over here are where we do our math and evaluation. So this negative 12.92, we are rounding that to 13. We're not just truncating it at 12. All right. So we got our completion IDs. And now watch this. So you see I've used floor. So now G211. Oh, look at this. More emojis. Emojis in the data validation. The cussing emoji. Please enter a proper code. Cancel. Because it has to be 6 characters. G00347. That's the code. But what if I do this? G000966. Nope, there's the cussing emoji again. Cancel. And see, okay, sorry. So there is the data validation. And then here is the emojis. Okay, and here is, all right, because in the post-apocalypse, you can't trust anybody. And people didn't know we were doing this because we wanted people to finish in this range, maybe 5 days early or 7 days after the target. But then they go too far, and then that's when they get the cussing emoji. If they finish too early, they get 2 poop emojis. Why? Because they did something shady. They cheated. There's no way that somebody would have turned in everything, got everything done that early. This is shady. This is like, well, we got to check that out. All right. So there's lookup range, and here is an X lookup that brings in the result. And then we've got the unique function, because look at this. We deliberately have these two. Okay, both of those have the 3 hearts, and then these have the 2 hearts. All right, they're the good folks. Who do we call those folks? The future of our survival. So here is another dynamic array. Well, here's a dynamic array which looks at a partial string. And I thank Dave Bruns of ExcelJet for showing this formula, because you can't just outright filter for a partial string. You got to do some other things. And so what I did was I used the filter function to get anybody whose category is a heart. Didn't matter whether it was 2 or 3. All right, and I had to use the is number and the search and everything in order to get that. And over here, we can dig a little deeper. So here are the people who got the cussing emoji. And then the 2 poop emojis. Oh, these 2 people, they finished way under. These are the shady ones. And then the 1 poop emojis. Okay. And pivot table. Yeah, pivot table using emojis. And one thing that that never came to me before, but I was able to get these in the order that I wanted them. So I can move this to there. And I don't know why it's taken, over 20 years for me to want to do something like that. But there is the pivot table off of the source data showing us we got 2 really shady people, 7 kind of shady, and 4 questionable. But we got 18 out of 40 who were really great. These people are the future of our survival. So there's the solution I came up with. Any questions? Everybody's quiet.
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat here. Just the observation that people need to find some business reason to use the poop emoji at work. So, I mean, I thought that would be fantastic in a traffic light thing, when you put your dashboard up and say your sales are crap. But yeah, outside of that, I don't see that there's any other specific questions. How did you get the emoji into data validation? There you go. There's a good one. I have to say, I was wondering that myself.
Oh, okay. So let's see. I'm gonna do this. Okay. So go to data validation. All right. Let's put a drop down, and I want that. Okay, and then go over here, and then gee whiz, and then hit the Windows key and period, and everything comes up. And then which one do we want? We want, let's see, let's put the ghost in there. Okay, so now let me try to do something crazy. That's how you do it. Does that answer the question?
I'm thinking it probably does.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yes, it does. There you go. Well done.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah. And wow. Yeah, That's the solution that took a lot of hours to put together, and here it is.
So what was the process, Oz, going through and figuring out how you were going to do this thing and pulling it back to back together and whatnot?
The process was so let's look back. Okay, so I've used emojis in formulas before, so I could figure that out. Dynamic arrays, I could figure that out. Data validation, text length, that was a challenge. And then I started thinking about things like credit cards, where you know it's got to be 16 digits. And so part of my story here was that we've got people entering these things and they keep messing it up. And so one type of validation we could put in here is to say, okay, it's got to be 6 characters now, right? They could still mess it up other ways, but for the story around it, it's more like putting in too few zeros or too many zeros out front. Um, and then it was a lot of time of thinking about floor and why use it, and then comparing what is its essence, how is it different from these others, round down and truncate, and what is the story that I could tell. And one thing I saw was that sometimes floor can be used. So you want to get things into groups. Okay, so you want integers, but then say you're in a situation where you need to break ties, and then you refer to these to help break ties, but really we want these. Okay, so another story could have gone. Uh, we got a bunch of people that were -4, but for some reason we need to rank them. Okay, so then we would use this data instead of this data to solely for breaking ties. Um, so then once I kind of figured out floor, then I needed a story. I was thinking about floor as some kind of a target where you could go past the target or come in earlier than the target. Okay. So then I needed a story in order to show floor's purpose. I've got to have some negative numbers. Otherwise, somebody could say, oh, why didn't you just use round down to truncate? Well, here's why I didn't. But I had to make that case. So as far as a target, as far as a number, I was thinking about sporting events. What if you said a game and you think there's going to be 47 total points scored, but then some people picked 50 and other people picked 41. Um, that's a way to think about it. Uh, but I went with this and then decided to have fun. And then once I had the story, then I needed a bigger context for the story. And then I borrowed from my Excel hashed theme, post-apocalypse situation. All right. And then that's when it really got fun for me. And then I started messing with the numbers and thinking about the different categories, right? Filling in more details. And that's how we got here.
So Oz, typically when you're building one of these solutions, I mean, because you've done this kind of program before with Excel hash several times. I mean, this whole concept was kind of your idea for this meeting or meetup. How long does it usually take you to build something like this, like to come up with a concept from start to finish in order to present the solution that you've actually got here today?
I am glad that what we started talking about this maybe 2 months ago, or no, I had about a month from when we picked the ingredients.
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am glad that I had that time. Had I had over a weekend, it would have been slapped together. Um, I might not have dug into the essence of why use floor. And Excel hash is similar because, and even though I'm the one who finally picks the ingredients after everybody has their input and everything, like I picked even last time and I didn't know what even did. Um, and in the previous Excel hashes, I am facing ingredients I've never faced before, just like everybody else. I don't have an edge or I'm picking things that only Oz has ever used. So, and that's part of the exciting thing is to slow down and think about what is the essence of something? Why the hell does it work? What is its particular claim to fame? So it takes some playing around and making up different models. I wish I hadn't deleted some of the other things that I had played with that eventually didn't work because I did truly want this thing integrated and not just, like I could make a shape and stick a poop emoji in it and say, here is our company logo. Well, no, that's just frying some French fries and laying them on the plate. I have transformed anything if I did that, but technically it would have satisfied the challenge.
So speaking of these things, so obviously you dive into these things to really try and learn what's actually going on underneath the scenes and all the rest of it. There is a question here that we got from Eric, which says, can you give us some further detail on the floor function and where it might be used? So what did you learn about this thing, I guess, and what other business ramifications does the floor function actually have for you in the future?
There weren't many, just like the even function, right? You know, you got to think about why would you want to round down? You know, the first time I came across ceiling was when there was a or people who made a catalog and they've got all these uh products in the catalog and then they've got all of their costs and everything and the markup and then they say this screwdriver is gonna cost $3.42. They used the ceiling to round it to the nearest quarter. So that was a really good use of the ceiling function. Um, and they weren't dealing with any negative numbers. So then the question is, why couldn't you use the round up to the nearest quarter? Or just round to round up to the next quarter or round to the nearest quarter. Why did they use ceiling? Good question. Well, some of them won't do decimals. I don't remember which won't do decimals, but some will only do the closest or the next higher or lower integer. And then you need the other ones like ceiling or floor to do the nearest quarter. So you could do something like this. Let me see. See, okay, so if I was going for the nearest half, I can do that in floor, but not every function will allow that.
Yeah, round down does not, for sure.
Uh, right, yeah, this is, yeah, round down. If so, let's see what
No,
happens.
actually, it does, doesn't it?
But
No,
look, it's
but it's
zero
number
point,
of digits. Yeah.
right, right, is number of digits. So let's see what happens if I did say 1.5, like, yeah, now we got something else that we'd have to think through. What the hell is that thing doing? But floor and ceiling will help you that way.
Let me see. I got another question in here as well. I know this has been answered in the chat, but let's get your answer on it anyway. So someone's got a template for data validation with data validation for data entry, but the users managed to find a way to copy and paste and destroy the data validation. Is there any way to prevent that?
I don't think so, because you could protect the sheet, but then still you got to make the data validation, the drop down window or whatever, open, and somebody can copy and paste over it.
Yeah, the only way that I can think of would be you'd have to write some custom rules with VBA, and it's painful, and it's something I know for sure that we've asked for a long time for the Excel team to please fix, because the whole point of data validation as a rule should be triggered when you copy and paste into the cell, but unfortunately it doesn't. So I know it's on the list of things to do for sure. Christian's comment is it seems that the right use case scenario seems to be the hardest thing for you to put together in these kind of challenges. I can say in the experience that I had trying to find a right use scenario was definitely a challenge, trying to, especially not just the right use, but like the right use of all of these things together, coming up with a story is the hard part, right?
Yes, that's the hard part, because you could have 4 different things that then they're all spitting out their own result that then you put together in the end. Well, that doesn't really do the challenge either. So that's it's fun to do this, and I've said in some other discussions that this is also motivated by when I was at art school and people using the supplies and the equipment deliberately the wrong way just to see what happens and understand, and then maybe some uses will come out of it, but really it's more about getting into the essence of really knowing what we're working with.
Hey Oz, we got another question here.
Yes.
Where was filter used, and what special thing had to be done?
Okay, so filter is used here. Oh, yes. Okay, so notice that our source has all of these columns, but then when I go to this summary, I do use filter, but I use choose to get just 3 of those columns: the name column, completion, and floor column. And then what do I want to filter by? I want to filter where C4 right here is in the category column. So that is one filter. And then the other filter is over here where I wanted anything that has a heart. Don't matter if it's 2 or 3. So we had the filter, and then we have the is number, which I don't fully understand. And then there's search for one heart. All right, and so there we filter by one heart. Or the partial string has one heart. So whether it has 2, 3, 1, or 11 is going to pull it.
Cool. Let me see. I was trying to think if there was another question in here. No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, so do you want to break in? I don't know if anybody else. Oz definitely invited and challenged people to try this themselves. I don't know if anybody here has tried to take up on that challenge, but if you have, please fire a message into the chat. Do you have more stuff that you want to show, Oz, or do you want to start breaking into to looking at other examples there at all?
Yeah, that was my solution, and I can share it with anybody who wants it. If there's someone, giving it to you, Ken, or somewhere somebody can download it, whatever. Yeah. But it is available, and I guess I need to figure out how to.
We can host that on Meetup site, no problem.
Cool, and I just got to figure out how to stop sharing.
That's okay.
There we go.
I can revoke that from you. So I'll tell you what. I can. Why don't I take over and I'll show you what I came up with, because Oz actually challenged me to do this as well. Which is, I will admit, this is not usually the kind of thing that I generally do. Typically, my stuff is 100% business focused and whatnot. But I kind of felt after inviting Oz on the show that. If I was going to put the challenge down to him and he laid it back to me, that I kind of had to participate. So here we go. This is me sort of opening my my little horizons with this. Full disclosure on this one, I actually put this together shortly after we announced the meetup, and I can't 100% remember what I did, so I'm going to muddle through as best as I can here. And then the second part I will say is that I did not spend nearly as long as Oz did trying to actually create a story here to go with this stuff, but I did try to get all of the components in on what we're playing with. So what I did is I actually built myself up a kind of a little emoji lookup kind of thing here, and you can see here that I've got a nice little beer icon that goes up with my my meetup rock stars here. But the nice thing here is that I have my text length data validation rule on here. So if I go and show the data validation rule, you can see that it has a text length. In this case, it's looking for a text length less than or equal to what's in D14 on the other page, and I'll come look at that in a second. The text length rule that I'm using here is basically the same thing, except that it's a greater than or equal to instead of a less than or equal to from the same thing. So this is working out to 7 characters long. The solution to, or that I was using for that, it comes from here. This guy is basically using the floor function to round something down. I didn't put nearly as much work into trying to figure out what floor data as Oz was looked at. I knew it rounded stuff down. I went, good enough for me.
Okay.
I got work to do. So where this came from is I basically created myself a nice little table here, and I threw some random words in it, and I took the average text length of those just to come back with a number, rounded it down using the floor function. Like I said, kind of phoned it in on those ones, but I'm like, I just got to get this thing in here, and I got other stuff I got to get onto. So that fed my data validation rule, and basically from this part, what I did is I thought it would be kind of fun to just sort of, go and put in things, a couple of random words, and look up a random emoji. So if you look at, hearing products, it gives me a nice little orange slice. But what's interesting is that there's actually several pages of emojis that I can work through, and if I go and scroll over a couple times, you can see that it gives you one of my favorite, the Hear No Evil Monkey for my hearing products. It can also go and look at, some other things like Stinky Products, which shows a flag on page 4, but if you dial it back to page 2, we get one of Oz's favorites here. This one's actually kind of a fun one, right? So if I go with fully, I get a cat, but I wanted to do this, masked. But unfortunately, that actually kind of throws a little bit of a problem because, dude, if I'd known that I could put emojis into that message, I would have, but didn't actually realize that. So I'm going to retry on this one here, and I'm actually going to cheat a little bit, and I'm just going to go and add another word to the end of this one. So we're going to go with fully masked up, which gives me a pig for some reason. But if I dial across a couple more here, I actually get the emoji that has actually got a mask on it, which I thought was pretty appropriate for 2021. Let me see, what else have I got here? That's not how you spell highly. Let's go with highly secretive. Was the next one? We've got the Speak No Evil Monkey. And of course, everyone's favorite with these ones is fluffy bunnies. And now, why are we crying about that? That doesn't make sense. But if we go back here, we can get the fluffy bunny out of this thing as well. So I've got a couple of different things that I played around with in this thing here. So in order to dial up back and forth on this thing, I'm just using a little form control that actually goes and drops a value into the cell. So there's nothing really magical around this one. If you haven't used a form control, you can pick that up off of the, I think it's under the insert menu there, and it's one of these guys in this area here. The real secret sort of came down into playing with the formula that actually returns the emoji, which is the unichar function. And basically what we're using is we're converting a series of characters from hex code into decimal code, feeding that to the unichar function, and it actually brings back the appropriate emoji. Now, The component that I'm looking for is actually all coming from column D, and I'll show that in just a bit here. But there were 4 components to what we actually had to put together for this thing. So there was the floor function, the dynamic validation or data validation, and the emojis. I've shown you 3 of those, but the dynamic arrays you haven't seen yet. So if I drop over here, I've actually got this thing hidden off the side where I've actually built a matrix of emojis. And what actually happens with this is that this is the dynamic array that's built in this one cell and is spilling out across to all of these guys here using the unichar and hexadec. And basically what I'm picking up is I'm picking up 1F4, which is the first sort of block that goes with the emoji for turning from a hexadecimal into a regular number. And then we're actually picking up the numbers 0 through F and 0 through F this direction to try and figure out where in this particular matrix we are. Although ironically, I don't actually use this at all to feed what's going on over here. What I'm doing is I've actually cheated a little bit here. This guy is using a whole bunch of formulas here in order to work back and actually figure out what is the ASCII equivalent of the first character in this text box or in this entry. So truthfully here, this could actually be anything as long as it starts with F. It really doesn't matter what it is because everything is actually written right off of the first character. That's all that really matters. So for me, the whole thing of trying to come up with that list of the fun little things took an awful lot of experimentation back and forth, because if you go and you put in something like aggressive, well, actually, that's not really going to work. Let's go with angry because that one should. This doesn't give anything that really makes sense. Then we got that, it looks like a mouse, and it doesn't really make any sense at all. So I was actually using this to try and come up with what is the intersect that I'm looking for, and then can I figure out a word that actually starts with that in order to drive back and actually make the examples that I'm actually looking for. So let's go back to fuzzy bunnies in this case here. So those 2 guys, we're basically taking the uppercase of the value that's there. I'm turning that into the ASCII code. The ASCII alphabet goes from 66, I think, to 128 for for uppercase letters. It's a higher series for lowercase letters, but there's a gap in between. So I said, cut it all to upper. Then we can actually take the code, subtract 65. We'll multiply that by 0.6 because that is 1 divided by 26 letters in the alphabet, 24. Can't remember. I worked it out so it's right. Trunked that. Maybe I could have used floor. That might have worked. You know, that would have been more practical, wouldn't it? And then converted that into the hexadecimal equivalent, which is in this case 3. This is important because if you came back with something like zebras, actually we're going to put a bunch of S's on that. This would return the F that we need in order to pick up the last row or last column of this particular intersection.
Wow.
The page that we're pulling from, 1F4, that is driving or is the same as what's going on over in this direction. I didn't have to do it too much with this one, except that I've actually got the pages that work for the emoji pages all listed here, and I'm actually pulling these guys in. So you'll notice in this one that there's actually a gap at 504, and that's because there's no really useful emojis in that particular series. Converting this back to the hex equivalent that we have here, and then I'm putting it all together into this code, and that's what I'm feeding into the hexadec to actually bring back and actually get my my rabbit. So, how did I build the emoji table? I see, yeah,
and Eric is impressed.
So. I feel like these are kind of cheap parlor tricks, honestly. I can't imagine unrolling one of these in business. It's just, one of the weird things to amaze your friends, right? But the other thing that I'm actually laughing at, I see Christian's comment about Unichar working in Excel but not in DAX for Excel. He and I have been having a conversation about the Unichar function in DAX and how it works in Power BI, not Excel. And I'd forgotten that I did this when we were talking about that, Christian. All right, so how does this whole thing work? So basically, this is pulling the, I'm looking for the second index out of the table on the other page. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and cheat right now. I'm going to grab this, bring it all back onto the same page and paste it over here just so we can see it. So there we go. So this guy here is looking up the index. So we're grabbing the second item from the table that's on the other page. So in this case, it's going to be 500. And it's then converting that using dest to hex to convert that into a hexadecimal code. So if I go with equals desc to hex, and I take this, it converts it into the hexadecimal equivalent of 1F4, which is what you're actually seeing here. 1F4 is simply the beginning part of the emoji string that I actually need. The second part is we actually pull up a letter from here. This is simply transposing a list that goes from F12. So that one's basically starting right here. And this one, I just used a sequence array to get me 16 different items, because that's how many items are in a hexadecimal alphabet, and then converted that into the desc to hex equivalent, 0 through F. Okay, so, or if you prefer, 0 through 16. So, as I say, this guy is just simply a transposition of what's actually going on for these guys here. That builds me a two-dimensional matrix. And then this guy is basically combine F11, F12, so basically pulling from the left-hand side here, and G11, so pulling from the top row here, give me a text string that works out to something, and then convert it. Hex to dec, we'll convert it back to the decimal equivalent, so I actually get a number back. And then we go and say, hey, let's convert that into the unichar, which is what's going on. I can share this workbook if anybody wants to actually tear this apart as well. You know, from a practical standpoint, I also tried to play with this to see if I could look at it in a different way. So if you prefer to see it, here's the series. Here's the first prefix and the suffix. When you actually put these guys together, a desc to hex, you have to do it for each one of the individual components and then join them together. And then you can wrap it in the unichar function with hex to dec in order to actually work it backwards and get it to see what's going on here. So,
you leave me with a question I had when I was playing with this was, if you were to make a stack of a few random emojis, you can sort them, but I never could see what was the code that it was sorting by.
Yeah, and I'm going to guess that here. Let me try something else here. Let's go hex to dec on this one here. I'm going to guess that it sorts based on this code.
Okay.
Because when you take your hex number and you convert it back into the decimal equivalent, that would be to me, that would be the logical part. I may be wrong. It might sort on the hex code. I'm not sure. But it's got to be one of those two items. So, because yeah, I mean, you look at like, how do you sort an emoji? Like, why did the moon come before the stars, right? I mean, like, you know, it's like, it's a strange kind of a thing. So I can't say that I actually pioneered this technique. I stole this off of someone. Oh, here's another practical one that the teenagers love today, the eggplant emoji, also useful in business, right? So many useful things. But there's one more thing that I want to show you guys actually that's kind of fun with this one too. So this is right now is auto saving. So is the emoji code industry standard or just unique within Excel? That's a great question. They use the emoji library that I believe is an industry standard, is my understanding. I don't believe that Excel pioneered anything like this at all. They're just, you know, sort of picking it up from somewhere. And I've actually looked up some of these emoji codes on other sites to actually see that, yes, it really is a cat in both places. Or, I mean, I got to be completely honest. Some of my favorite ones are the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil monkeys for obvious reasons. Christian's actually thrown in a link in the chat to Emoji or emojipedia.org, which is where I go to actually check out some of these things as well.
Okay.
But here's what I'm going to do really quickly here. And actually, just 1 second, I just need to pull this off the side here because there's a workbook that I can't share at the moment and whatnot. But I'm just going to copy the path to this one and see if I can't reopen this guy here. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to actually open this in the web. Fantastic. So we're going to open up this workbook in Web Excel just because we can, and because in Web Excel we get color.
Yes.
Why? You know, how come when I'm working in full-blown Excel on the desktop that has so much processing power, I don't get color emojis? That's BS, man. I think we're getting totally ripped off in that case. But there we go. We got our entire emoji list with all this fun stuff to play around with there. One thing that doesn't work in WebExcel though, form controls don't work in WebExcel. So I don't have my convenient little slider to go back and forth here, which is exactly why the little text box here was not covered completely, because I need to be able to go and actually enter items into it when I'm playing around in WebExcel. And that just, also makes me cry. So there you go. All right. So.
And Alvin posted another URL as well.
Yeah, so here we go. So I'm, you know what, because I got the web browser open, why don't we just go and take a look? So here's the one that Alvin just posted a link to as well, with all kinds of different stuff. Now these guys are actually putting out the browser versus the Apple, Google, Facebook, and so forth icons. I can definitely tell you that after moving from an iPhone to an Android phone, the emojis, while the spirit is the same, definitely look different. From what I see, I believe this is the one that is generally most synonymous with what these guys are doing, because it is Windows. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate this. Here we go. One of my favorites, the See No Evil Monkey. There you go. Even with its meaning. How about that? Awesome. And then here's another link to Emojipedia as well, where you can actually do a search. Now, how you search for a specific emoji, I'm not 100% sure. I've never really tried, but there's some different platforms out there to play with for sure. Let me see. What other comments do we have going on in this one here?
Ken, great work.
The secret to a good magic trick, yeah. The secret to a good magic trick is actually just making sure that other people don't know how you pulled it off, right? So, and I just completely blew that by showing y'all. So that's no good. So, anyhow, I mean, it was fun, Oz, and I have to say, I mean, it was definitely a challenge. I mean, trying to think about how to put some of these together in any kind of a way that made sense is weird, right? So, here's the cats. I see the cats all lined up in this thing as well. So. I just think I have another workbook somewhere where I have a matrix that allows me to play with some of these things. This was a stripped down version of some of that, but it is a neat thing. And I mean, if I were spending more time and trying to figure out how to do this in a practical business scenario, which is definitely one of the things that people ask for with some of these things, I would tend to sort of hit one of these things and look through these deals and say, okay, well, I don't know if there's anything in that little series that I can use. Is there anything in this one that I can use for different things? And I can see where using some conditional logic to go through and pick back and figure out which individual components would make sense for a dashboard, a traffic light dashboard, I think would be really, really useful. Using something like a happy face, and then of course the poop emoji for when sales are terrible. You can see these guys here don't look super useful to me, right? So, and this is where I was ending up playing around with different pages to try and find things as to what's going on. Here you go. Your sales make me sick emoji right there. You see that one?
Yeah.
There we go. Yep. So there's all kinds of good things that you could potentially leverage here. So ratings with stars could be valid. Yeah. See, the deal with ratings with stars, though, is that you already have stars in your standard conditional formatting. So why go through all this work to make that happen in those particular cases? And I think you actually have a little bit more control. Giant says you can have colored emoji in a shape using equals and a cell reference. Does that work in a shape in Excel desktop, though? Must try now, right? So we're just talking a standard shape from the insert tab. I need a smokes and mirrors emoji. All right. Let's go see. So are we talking just a standard shape here where we go and we pick up
it
emoji?
Works. I just tried it. Yep.
What am I doing wrong with that's not working? It's got to be in the formula bar, right?
Yep, got to be in the formula bar.
Hey, how about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's funky. Learned something new. Awesome.
There you go. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, because this stuff, because with Excel hash, the issue is you can come up with something business related or something that's totally contrived, but it's just got to be integrated. And then that's where we learn.
Well, it's inspiring, right? I mean, and
Yeah.
this is what I say with a lot of these things. I mean, I have a course that I teach for the chartered professional accountants on dashboarding, and I mean, I give lots and lots of techniques, and I always get the question back from someone saying, "Are you going to show us? Are you going to show us a dashboard that we can use, or a dashboard template?" I said, "Nope. Absolutely not, because every business has its own needs for what you do on the dashboard. What I'm doing is I'm giving you a whole collection of stuff to inspire you to build your own visualization and the rules around what you want to do with those kind of things.
Yes.
And this is kind of a fun one to play around with. This one I like. I have to say the color inside of I can see
Thanks
how
for
that
that,
would.
Giant. Really appreciate that. That's why
Absolutely.
his name is Giant.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So let's throw it out there. I mean, did anybody else have a solution that they wanted to, or that they tried to play with, or wanted to show? Um, I haven't seen anybody put their hand up for that yet, but if you do, I mean, we'd love to give you
Huh.
some time to show it, or other questions. Oh, Faraz says you just made something
Oh,
fantastic. I'll tell you
oh.
what, Faraz, I'm gonna stop
I
sharing.
see.
Do you want to share your screen and show us what you got?
Yeah, sure,
All right.
Ken. I'm just doing it while you're presenting it and while Oz was presenting it.
All
Oh,
right.
you didn't take a month. See, okay, all right. So he's gonna show
Now,
us all up.
yeah, watch. It's gonna be better than both of ours.
Yeah.
I'm
Faraz.
just trying to share my screen. I
Okay.
don't know, I'm having some issue with the screen sharing. I'll just sign out and sign in again.
All right.
Oh,
Or can you describe it nicely?
oh, Chris Criddle, man, Chris Criddle, man. When I see your name, I get so happy. Wow, I remember us being there in Perth and having dinner. Yeah, yeah. Good seeing you. I'm walking.
Earth. I'm jealous. I never made it
Good seeing you.
to do that. So
Yeah.
looks so nice and sunny out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's about 9 in the morning. Nice day.
Nice.
Oh, 9 in the morning. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, 10, sorry. Can't count today.
Ah, wow. Um, and there's who else? With regards to data validation, maybe can try combining data validation with protect sheet on front. Okay. All right.
Yeah. The challenge with that one is that if the sheet's protected, you can't change the value in the cell if the data validation cell has to be unprotected. So there's that part to start with. And as far as Google Sheets goes, I entertained a question from somebody just yesterday saying, how can I protect my workbook? Because when you open it in Google Sheets, it just removes all the password protection immediately.
Woo!
Yep, it sure does. So unfortunately, kind of, yeah, as Danielle says, it kind of defeats the purpose of using
Yeah.
protection, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I say I really hope they fix that. Although what Google Sheets will do with your workbook protection, I mean, I understand exactly why they tear away the protection when you go and put stuff in Google Sheets. They don't want to necessarily have to manage it, but it does kind of suck, doesn't it? That your protection is that easy to hack off.
Yeah.
Not cool.
So it looks like Faraz is back. Are you back?
Just being shy now.
Yeah.
Now Faraz no longer has access to the chat. All right, so Faraz teased us and left us.
Yeah.
I see there's a hand up.
Huh?
There's a hand up somewhere. Am I?
Is there? I missed that.
No, I don't see a hand up.
I see it on my screen.
I am. All right. If someone does have their hand up, throw something into the chat. I'm just trying to figure out if I can figure out where that is.
Oh,
And
Maurice is saying.
Maurice, if you've got a question, by all means.
Oh, says it was a mistake.
Okay. Well, that's all right. That makes sense.
All right. So I'm wondering what kind of things people got from this. Was there anything interesting?
Oh, hey, Maurice, you can have a question but don't have a solution. That's totally okay. Ask your question. How do you find out about the challenge? How give me some more information about your question. Are you I'm not quite following the question, I guess is what I'm saying. So we will take we'll get a copy of both Oz's workbook and my workbook, and we'll post those up. You would have tried it if you'd known about it, for sure. We've been putting out news on our meetup site for this thing, but and we've put out some things on social media. I know Oz has been talking about it. I think that's what we were, or I believe we put out some of our own social on it. But if you're not on our list, then you wouldn't have heard about it. So plainly, you need to follow us, man. Why aren't you?
Yes.
That's what it's really all about. Yeah, you should indeed, absolutely. As far as and then John saying, what was the challenge? John, the challenge was to not use Visio to do something really cool. That's what it was. So yeah, there you go. I'm starting to feel like Faraz is not coming back. He's left us.
Oh, got to hurry up.
Unfortunate.
Somebody go over to his house and knock on the door.
Yeah.
Oh, it says he's back.
He's back temporarily, though. It says he's temporarily joined the chat. What does that mean?
I don't know what that means. Everybody gets that when they come in. Right, Faraz.
Are you there, buddy? Can we hear you? Oh, it does actually. Everybody's temporarily. How about that? That's new. It used to say they joined the chat. I guess that must be one of the improvements to Teams that we got over the last little while. And now Faraz says he no longer has access to the chat. He's out. Well,
well, okay. So here is something that I want to show. I'm gonna share my screen because I saw something that I had not seen before. Okay, so I'm gonna go to formulas and look at. I haven't seen this before. I would usually have to do this Control tilde, but has that been there, or is this new?
No, I think that's been there for quite a while.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I honestly I don't think I've clicked it more than twice, so I couldn't tell you how long, but I'm pretty sure that it has been. Yeah.
So never mind then. All right. So now I need to figure out how to stop sharing.
Oh, Faraz says he's back.
Okay. All right, Faraz.
Well, Faraz, take over the screen.
Yes, I was just having a small issue. Okay, I hope you can see my screen now. Somebody can tell me.
Yes.
Yep, I can see Dave. Yeah.
I can see the Apple logo. So there's the challenge. So you're trying to use Apple products with Microsoft products. That never works well.
No, it works, and I'll show it to you. So I just quickly prepared this sales kind of report, where I'm randomly picking up some numbers, randomly using a rand array, and there are like 10 salesperson and 5 products, and I'm giving them a range, and then I'm wrapping it into floor, where anything coming under decimal, then it will going to round it down, So with that, I'm summing up the sales, and here I'm using the data. Here I'm using the X lookup, where I'm trying to get the stars, which I have used, and these are the emojis which I'm using it right now. Okay. So you can see it in the colors, so like in Windows and the web version, you can see it in the colors. These are the real colors which you can see it. I'm using the desktop version for the Mac.
Oh, in the Mac, you get the color emojis.
Yes, I get the color emoji.
Right.
And
then now I feel even more ripped off, don't you, Oz?
Yes, yes.
So once you are here, so I'm just putting an X lookup over here, and I'm just getting the closest one, and then I added some spark lines over here to this record, where it's giving me the highest point in my product. And then I'm finding the salesperson, those who are the highest one on the stars, the maximum stars, those are there. Here I'm using the data validation. But in data validation, I haven't used I didn't put it directly. I just reference it to these cells over here. So
Right.
I'll the data validation. I'll go here.
Oh, geez, Oz, I don't know. Can we accept this entry if you didn't use the text length rule?
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's one of those judges. Yeah, the judges will say, you had elephant garlic in your basket, but I don't see it on your plate. Where's the elephant garlic?
I say, listen, Faraz, for knocking this up in the last 30 minutes
Right.
while we're doing a presentation, I think you get some bonus points on that anyway. That's funny. Well
Okay, so
done.
I just use this. I just reference it over here with this data validation, and then what I did is that I put it stars. I'm just selecting the stars, so it is giving me the salesperson over here. I'm using the filter function, where you can see this filter function over here,
Yeah.
and then I'm extracting the names, and then I'm just simply using the text join function, and I'm wrapping it into the text join and putting it at one place.
Yeah.
And those who are having 5 star, they're getting beers, and those who are with the low stars, they are getting coffee. And by the way, I just use the total sales what is for this, and then I sum it up. Then I use the stock history, the currency stock history, which is there. Like these are in United States dollars, so I can convert it to any other currency. Let's say USD to SAR, Saudi Riyal. So that will convert me the value in Saudi Riyal, and then I use I use floor function to round it down to the nearest one.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
I have all this.
Well done,
Thank
for us. And if for 20 minutes, 30 minutes worth of work, I think hats off, bud. You win. That's good stuff.
I'll share you this notebook, Ken, so you can even share it with all our friends.
Awesome, yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate it. All right, now that Faraz has thrown down the gauntlet, anybody else want to come on and show their solution? I'm thinking nobody's going to want to put their hand up now. So, well done. Cool. Well, yeah, we'll round up all three of those solutions and share them so that people can break them apart and take a look and see what they have. And one thing I would ask is if you build anything cool, share it back to us and let us know too. And we're more than happy to take a link and add it to the meetup chat to say these are some other things that got inspired and whatnot. So
yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That is
this is good.
Oh, Santosh says he's got something interesting.
Santosh. Okay.
Yeah, and just to activate the emoji on the Mac, you have to press Control, Command, and Space bar.
Yikes.
Okay, so I know those are a lot of keys, but those are straight line. Those are in the straight line. So Control, Command, and Space bar will activate the emojis, and you can select the emojis from there.
Right.
Awesome.
That's it.
Santosh, did you want to come on and show what you have?
Yes. I'll not take much time. I'll take just 2 minutes with relate to image emoji.
Good to see you and hear you, Santosh. Yeah.
Yes. Let me know if you can see my screen. Oh, are you able to see my screen?
It's coming up. Yep. Here it is. Yep, we got it.
Okay. So what I'm trying to do over here, I just want to write one of my name. Okay, so I want to type my surname Kamala, and I want to give emoji by Windows and dot button. Okay, so let me give this emoji and just click over here. So what I'm trying to do now, I just want to give, okay, what is the cell name over here? I want to give this as my seat name. What is in the cell A1, it should come to my seat A here. So what I need to do, I just try to right click, there is a view code. Okay, I'm not writing any kind of VBA code. So what I have did, I just have one code. You can see this is one of my code I have written in VBA. So it is simply refer to the A1 cell, and what is the A1 cell can bring to my the tab name. Okay, so I just do Alt Q is to close that one. Now, the sooner that I put enter, okay, so you can see I can get, if I do right over here, Santosh.
Hey, Santosh, would you be able to zoom in just a little bit?
Zoom in.
Just
Okay.
control mouse wheel. Yeah, that's good. Just so we can see a little bit of what's going on. I think we can follow the tab part. So.
Okay, now you can see I have this emoji over here. Now my seat name is changing according to that. Okay, so if you see, let me remove the grid lines over here. Now if I want to change this to Kamala, this is my surname. You can see my tab name is changing. Okay, and the seat name is changing with the emoji also. Okay, so what I didn't do much coding. This is I'm little good in VBA. So what I did, I just put my private subject, to give the cell A1. What is my cell A1
Hey,
to bring it?
Santosh, I think when you shared your screen, I think you shared the Excel application rather than your screen. So when you actually pull up the VBA window, we're just getting a gray square on this side.
Oh, okay. So what I need to do, let me copy that VBA window. Can you see my Notepad++ to see the?
Nope, I can't see that either. No, all we see is the Excel worksheet.
Oh, okay, okay. Let me share my other window. I may not know how to share the. Okay, so what I can do, I can copy that code into my Excel. Okay, I think it will be work out. You can see my Excel now.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the code I have copied from there. Okay, so I can share with everyone. It is a very simple code. I just mention what is the date, what is the value in my cell, the A1 cell. Just give this one is my, the tab name. Okay. So my objective is, I can write the emoji in my seat name as well. Okay. If I give some other emoji, you can see if I give some other emoji like, okay, this one. So I can click. Okay, you can see here my seat name is also changing. What is my tab name?
Wow.
Okay. So this is just a little trick about your tab name also can change with your emoji as well.
Interesting.
I've got some horrible visions of people sending me workbooks with emoji tabs now.
But it can be doable with the normal name. If I can go over here, I write the Excel, and I give Windows button. I can select, okay, this is my emoji. I just click over here. I can rename. I can just copy this, and I can bring and double click give. Okay, this can be work out. So I can bring emoji in my seat name, but the trick which I did, okay, what is the value in the cell A1? I can bring as my name of the tab.
Yep,
Okay,
got it. Yeah, that's pretty swift.
Yeah, this is a small trick from my end.
Cool.
Apparently, you've just inspired Eric. His boss is getting a bunch of emoji named sheets next time he gets a report. So.
And then they show up in the formulas. You link and make a formula, and now you got
Yes.
equals turkey exclamation points. Right.
So Giant says, so that as a logic, the emoji can be used in charts also. Well, yeah, I mean, if it's just a character, there's no reason why you couldn't actually use one in a chart legend, or I mean, if you start grabbing some of John Peltier's amazing tricks for using it in conditional formatting, I bet it would actually probably also work there.
Yeah.
So,
and Grania is enjoying this. Wow.
There you go. Cool stuff.
This is something. This is something. Thanks, Santosh. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right. Well, does anybody else have anything that they want to throw in there before we shut it down for the evening? No more worksheet names for me.
Right. No more. You see Maurice is already in the future.
Look at what you've done, Santosh. Look what you've done. That's too funny. Awesome. Well, you know what? I think this has been entertaining. I mean, obviously, it's some cool stuff that's come out of it, inspiring and interesting pieces. So, thank you everybody for participating. Oz, thanks for leading this thing off and starting this off. Gary has asked Santosh if you'd share the VBA for the emoji sheet name in the chat. Would you be able to paste that right into the chat window for us?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, thanks everyone. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for the suggestion, Ken. Definitely.
Hey,
This has been
absolutely.
good.
This has been good. So, like normal, folks, what we'll do is we'll try and get the recording of the meetup up in the next 24 to 48 hours, so that people can rewatch and see how some of the stuff was done, and we'll also get those workbooks uploaded as soon as we get them. So, for Oz and Faraz and actually Santosh as well, if you wouldn't mind sending us something with that sample code in there as well, that would be fantastic, and we'll get those posted up on the meetup site so that people can have a play and unleash emoji named sheets on all their coworkers.